All right, I just ended with texture fills and I added this cloud fill. And you can see how it gives me these little trails. I'm using soft light as a way of blending it in. And that's at 100%, but I can take that down. And you can see I have like kind of the paths of water now moving through. And what's great is I can transform that and warp that and actually move those paths. That's why the clouds are so useful, like through the image any way I like. Kind of bring attention to certain parts. And it's just giving kind of an even treatment to everything. And if I want it more, I can duplicate it, Command J. And I can rasterize it, and I can even delete it from certain areas. So if I want it more in the background than in the foreground, like I really like how it's kind of filtering the light in the background, I can make my soft eraser really, really big at a lower opacity, like 50%, and then I can just erase the texture fill in the areas I don't want it so much, like the foreground. It also shows me that in my background, because I still have all these separate layers, right, amongst the barrels, I need to erase something still, which is at the feet of the barrels. That's a little too clean, so I'm going to use my eraser at a lower opacity and reveal some of the organic textures underneath here. That keeps all the colors there and that deep shadow. I want all of that. I just don't want it to feel like it's a factory floor. I want it to feel like it's still, yeah, this kind of dynamic seabed that this coral is sitting on. So there are no shortcuts to compositing. It's a lot of work to get all this stuff right. But it really makes you look at your image as well. You can dodge and burn as you go. Find different things to work with. So I'm just burning some of the things in the foreground. But because they're underneath the texture fills, everything becomes a little bit more subtle. And that's okay. All right. So the last trick to bring it all together is we go to the very top layer. You have everything turned on you think you like. You hold down Option. This is like what we did with our cartoon jumble. You hold down Option, you go up to Layer, and you can say Merge Visible while holding down Option. That will merge everything onto one 100% layer at the top. Why is that useful? Well, now I can just do Image Autotone and let the computer adjust the histogram. So that means it balances out the midtones, the highlights, the shadows, and the color spectrum. And then you can say, well, do I like that better, which is more of a mix of primary colors, right? Or do I like it more in the blue range? And what the beauty of digital art is you don't have to choose one or the other. You can blend them. You can take the opacity and use a little bit of it. And I think I want about 50% of it. I like that. And then I think I'm good with it. I think that looks pretty great. So what do I do? Well, I'm going to save it and I'm going to upload it. So I say File, Save. I keep my PSD. It's 11 inches by 18 and something inches. Bigger than my sketch. It's 1.3 gigabytes large, this Photoshop file, with all of these different layers that I'm using all of. So now to put it up to the internet, to turn it in, I have to save it as a JPEG. So I go to File, Save As. I'm going to navigate it to the desktop, keep the same name, but save it as a JPEG format under Format. And then it's going to ask me to use the quality setting, and I want it to be fewer than 5 megabytes, which means I can do a quality of 10 for this size. Even though this is 1 1/3 gigs large, as a JPEG, which flattens all the layers, I can get it down to just 5 megabytes. Say OK. That's going to save to the desktop. It's there. Then I can close it, minimize Photoshop. I can make a new folder in my assignment 1 folder, which is my texture overlays, which are going to be very helpful when we come back to this assignment to put a creature into it. So I have my references, my texture overlays. I have my JPEG, which I'm going to keep on the desktop for now because that's what I'm submitting. And then I need my sketch. So I need a JPEG of my sketch as well. Not just the sketch I use, but the whole sketch, everything. So I'm going to say File, Save As. So this is before you cropped it. To the desktop, a JPEG, and I want to put my name in the file name, Karl Assignment 1 Sketch. Those are the 2 things we're going to turn in. Your most finished composite, meeting today's deadline, and your sketch. Your initial vision for it. Then I go to Chrome. I go to photobucket.com. I sign in with the class information if it's not already remembering. I go to assignment 1 in the library and put it in. And then I label it with my name. So under Digital Art 1, today is our deadline for it, so you want to get something in there by midnight tonight, even if it's just your sketch. Then I go to Assignments. It's the first one. You're going to put your work here, your sketch, and then your composite. I'm going to put it into my instructional examples. I select both JPEGs, drag and drop them in, and then I have to label them. And we always label with our semester code first. While that's coming in, I'm going to go ahead and load up Pixabay. Go to My Images or Upload. And I'm going to go ahead, this is what I like to do with this assignment. This is how I offer things up, public domain, well, Creative Commons open. Because I believe that this is a file that has been transformed. I'm going to let other people use it. Now I need to come up with some tags. So I'm going to do underwater, sea, coral. Then I can take a lot of these: fish, water, ocean, sea, deep, reef, coral, aquarium, diving, nature, jellyfish, marine, aquatic, swimming, swim, blue. And now they will jury it and see. So My Images, this one's pending. It has to be reviewed. But if it gets reviewed, then anyone can use it. Okay, so now I go back to Photo Bucket. My images are there. I just have to title them. If I don't give them a title, I'm not letting the instructor know whose work it is. I'm not letting the class know. So it's FA19 as our semester tag, and then just your first name, and then the number 1 for your sketch. And then for your composite, same thing, but just the number 2. FA19, your first name, and then the number 2. And then we're going to do the critique. See what we learned from this. And then we're done with our first assignment. So the reason you title it with the numbers is so they show up in the right order. There they are.